Hey guys, welcome to another video from the Parrott Bros. Now today we are going to be seeing whether I made the mistake by buying the DSG, because Alex has kindly bought me this lovely 3.2 manual to test out, do a little video, and we'll also get him in this and see what he thinks. He's been driving the manual. We'll see if he thinks he's made the right decision or not, and vice versa. Let's jump into the intro. Okay, so some of the biggest differences are this one has 2 pedals, this one has 3. That's probably the biggest difference. 0 to 60 I think is like 0.1 of a second difference because it's 1 gear change or an auto gear change. So there's not really masses in it. These you'll tend to find, like any TT in later life, 15, 20 years old, 60 to 100,000 miles, they may need a clutch. A clutch is on a TT 700 to 900 pounds. The DSG, however, may, if the servicing hasn't been done, may or may not have mechatronics issues, which is 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. So it's relative. Obviously, people always talk about the DSG issues, but then again, people buy DSGs and they've had bad servicing, bad experience. So it's a very hard one to compare. An ultimate cruiser, I mean, I've literally just got back from Germany. It's still dirty as you see it here now. 1,500 miles driven, faultless, absolutely faultless. Lovely, sat on the Autobahn, little kick down, just flying down the road. It's got cruise as well, so basically didn't use my feet for quite a lot of the time. And it was brilliant, but it's not the drive that a manual is. Now, I've not driven a V6 manual, and we're going to do the first ever drive on video in a minute. And I'm interested to see what it's like, because with the 225, you naturally use the later part of the gear because it's boosted. You want to get it into that lovely range where you're using the turbo. Whereas with the V6, in the auto, you don't really think about gear changing. You just kind of floor it and it changes gear when it knows it wants to. Whereas in these, I feel like with a manual, you may need to work it that little bit harder because obviously it's a big engine. You want to use most of the rev range, but it may feel like you're ragging it a little bit because you're sort of trying to take it to the top of the gear each time. Whereas with this, like I said, it just does it for you. So I tell you what, enough of me waffling, let's jump into the car. Okay, so now we are in the manual V6 and it is weird because it feels more peppy, but that's because I'm in the gear I want to be in rather than it being in the gear it wants to be in. And I think that's the biggest thing that you'll find when we go into mine is the gear selection. Because in sport, it's really, really low all the time. So now it'd be in second, screaming its nuts off. If we were in drive, it would be in fourth, struggling to go up the hill. And it's that gear selection. That's why it feels, because I mean, if you put mine into manual, it will be similar feeling. So this as a car, yes, it doesn't feel much faster. It feels the same on the accelerator as I'd expect it to when you're going through the rev range. It's just that when you're plodding about, you know exactly what gear you want to be in a manual. You're so used to being in the optimum gear, aren't you? It's that, the personal preference thing. Everyone, I'm terrible at introducing. This is Alex.
Hey
Alex,
guys.
this is everyone. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know Alex. He's got the nicer noggy. It was at Andy's last week. It's been in the Hemel meets. We see him and Neil all the time. Come as a pair. And he's gone for the V6 for his missus because he wanted a V6.
Yeah, I had to persuade her. She wanted a Mark II, and I persuaded her to get a Mark I, and she's over the moon with it.
So you got this for a good price.
Yep.
We won't discuss money, but it was a good price. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't expensive. It was a fair price.
It was a fair price. What I thought I wanted to pay for a 3.2 manual.
113k on the clock. Now we got some lights. We got an engine light and an airbag light. Is that like that when you bought it?
Right, engine light was like that, but I did quick OBD11 check on that, and it's the math to do with the math. So
nothing too
major,
nothing too stressful, yeah.
And the airbag is actually a recent thing. And I think it's because I'm a tall man. And
so the seat's always going back and forward.
Yeah, and the missus, when she does drive it, she's putting the seat forward. So I think it's to do with one of the switches in the seats.
Okay, well, to be fair, if you did it, at least you know what I mean? You were fiddling with something and it's come on, whatever. I'm not surprised because I had to put the seat forward about 70% closer to the front than it was before, so because you're a tall fella.
Problems with being over 6 foot, mate, and driving a TT.
So with the car, it's stock apart from a resonator removal.
Yeah, it actually has H&R lowering springs.
Yep.
I don't know why the previous owner, before the person I bought it off, decided to put them on there on standard shocks, because as you can tell, Dom, it's quite crashy.
Yeah. It's not too bad. I thought it'd be worse.
Oh, you wait until you hit something, and then your opinion will change.
So but now I'm in second, which is where I would be if I was driving. It picks up well, changes well. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I am a manual driver. Like I don't have many autos. I had the S4, which was auto, but that was more of a cruiser because you wouldn't rally an S4 around the back roads because it's too big, you know. But yeah, this is kind of everything I thought it was going to be.
You like it?
Yeah, I do.
I'll be honest with you, I do really enjoy driving this more than my Noggy. Obviously, because I've had the Noggy for 10 years, but it's just something different.
It's a different drive, and the sound is just...
Oh, it's lovely. You can't beat a VR6.
You can't.
Volkswagen Audi Group VR6
And I mean, I heard you coming. I knew exactly... I heard the car, and Alex is here. I know the noise, that noise. If you blindfolded car people and drove like 5 different sporty sounding cars where they pick this out like that.
You know what a VR6 is, without a doubt.
100%. So yeah, I mean, manual wise, it's what I thought it would be. The power band thing, it's not actually as bad as I thought. It's quite nice through the rev range. It's not. I don't know why I thought it was going to be a bit not underpowered, but you know, like where you're kind of waiting for it. But then bigger capacity, more torque. Yeah. It's
got a lot of low down torque, and I've noticed that there's a good range after the 3,500 mark, 4,000 mark here, because it's just like it picks up. I mean, you can punch it now and you'll see.
Oh yeah, near a 5.
Yeah. So when you get to that range, it's just a wicked power band on these engines.
I mean, the problem is with an auto, you don't really know because you just plant it and it changes when it wants. Whereas with this, we can try now.
You've got the feel for it.
Terrible gear changing. But yeah, I mean, it is everything you'd expect it to be, and you have the control, so you could just go past people and
that's what I do. I always
give it a little rev. Right?
Every time I change gear down, I always give it a little bit, just so I can hear, you know,
bit of rev matching.
Yeah. But I really like 4th gear in this compared to on my 225 is 3rd gear. So 4th gear in this is it's just I think it's
because fun. I think in the 225 1st gear is pointless.
Yep.
Whereas in this, it's not too bad because with a boosted car, nothing, and then it sort of boosts and you have to change quick. Whereas with this, you work it up nice, and it's not. It is a different drive, isn't it? I mean, they're the same as far as I'm aware. Because I don't know 100%. Someone may correct us. They're the same gearbox.
That's what I have read.
So an O2M gearbox. I might be wrong. Like I said, this is not a factual video. Yeah. But they're obviously different rev ranges, different power ranges, and everything's sort of in different places, and it does feel better in this car.
It does in the 225. Because I've actually looked at. So I've done a lot of studying on the gearboxes because on my 225 eventually I want to go for bigger power, and I was looking at putting the diesel 5th and 6th gear ratio, so I've got that motorway, you know, so I'm not sitting at nearly 4,000
yeah, because this is 3,000 at 70, 3,500 at 70.
It's ridiculous. So but apparently it can't be done. You have to have the whole diesel gearbox. You can't just change the last, something to do with the way
the final drive
basically the way the final drive is on these gearboxes. Is just so, you know, I've heard that the 3.2 VR6 and the 225s have the same gearbox, same ratios, the lot, but I prefer the feel.
It definitely feels like an easier to use gearbox than this, because in the 225, like I said, 3rd, fine. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever, fine. But 1st is pointless. 6th isn't high enough. It doesn't. Do you know what I mean? You may as well, 5th and 6th are the same. There's no.
5th and 6th are just. There's nothing.
There's not really a lot in it.
It's basically, you might as well just drive around in 3rd gear in the 225. But you know,
it does. It breaks the legal law speed limit. You know what I mean? So it's just.
So
you don't need to be going faster than third.
no, you don't.
But no, I mean, mate, thanks for showing me this. I mean, this is just
No,
confirmed
fine,
the
mate.
fact that I want a manual V6.
Well, get one.
We'll see your opinion in a minute because I'm intrigued to know what you think. Plus, obviously, mine's got the nicer suspension, and so that's
the main reason I'm
also
here today.
that's also another one is to get it and see what you feel about that. Because
Right.
do you know what? This ain't that bad. You say it's crashy and bumpy. I know the roads around here aren't too bad, but let's find a pothole.
That's just me being
That's not that bad.
typical Alex, nitpicky.
Wants to spend £1,000 on some coilovers,
You know, but I don't want to get coilovers. I don't want to go overboard with this one like I have done with Noggy. So, you know, I want to build this one for comfort and for show. And obviously, this is something for the the missus to enjoy as well. You know, and for me to to have a little bit of fun when she lets me.
They do sound good, don't they?
No, they do. It's
I mean,
fantastic.
if anyone wants to do an exhaust on a V6 and they haven't really got the money, drop the resonator off.
Yep.
Because this sounds quality. It's not too offensive. When you drive mine, you'll be smiling because it's got that lovely, like, high and quite loud rasp, and it's a funny one.
Yeah, actually, that's another thing I'm looking forward to seeing is
you've got an exhaust suspension and the wrong gearbox.
Yeah. I'm actually curious about the DSG because obviously I think the 3.2 VR6 is more of a cruiser.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
No, than a rag around the corner 225.
Yeah. Exactly right. We'll see you in the other car.
See you there.
Okay, so now we're in my TT, the DSG. Alex, we've literally just driven off my driveway, so he hasn't got used to it. We are going to be filming real time how he feels about it and the people around here that can't drive. So we're in just normal drive mode at the moment. We'll see how you feel about that. See what it changes up, doesn't it? It's already in, like, you don't know what gear it's in, but it's already in a high one. If we go right. Yeah, so I'm really bad for giving directions.
That's all right.
I just assume everyone knows.
Just do the same route that you did, yeah?
So that, see there, it was in like a higher gear and it just changed as you were going.
Right, this is in drop. Right. Okay.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's very strange.
Because it sort of half changes if you don't have the throttle in the right place. You have to get used to using the throttle as like a switch because there's different stages of where you want the pedal as to how it delivers. Drive is very tame. Drive is like you'd give it to your missus, tell her that was the only setting it had if she wasn't a car person, and she'd just plod about. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know, but I couldn't do that with my missus. She knows cars.
Yeah, well that's what I'm saying. People aren't really driving.
Yeah.
If you're not a car person, drive would be absolutely fine.
With it.
You'd think this was underpowered, sluggish. Because I mean, if you just drive normally, pick the busiest time to come out. But if you just drive this normally, not too heavy footed, it jumps gears and.
Wow, is that what it does? Okay.
So that's in normal mode. Obviously it's still the same acceleration, but it changes where it changes gear is different in drive and whatever.
Right, let's try it in.
If you want to paddle, you can just paddle up and down as you want on the steering wheel.
Right, now we're in second.
So there's a little bit of a delay. Gear change is almost instant, but there's a little delay if you paddle down sometimes. You'll feel it. It takes a second to come down, and if you're slightly on the accelerator as you paddle down.
It's a lot more comfortable though, the suspension than my one. Yeah, it's nice, it's firm, but it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not like sitting in my Noggy where it's like solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I kind of like the DSG.
Chuck a left in.
I kind of like
and
it.
And it down changes for you, yeah?
Oh yeah, like that's a bit like the M3.
Now it's gone back to auto because you're in normal drive mode.
Right.
Because you paddled. Once you stop paddling, after about 10 or 20 seconds, it naturally reverts back to as if you were like overtaking someone and then you're done.
Yeah.
Right? If you turn right here, we'll go back down to
So
your
sport
brake.
mode is.
Yeah. So sport. That's sport.
That's manual, right? I can drive it with the paddles.
No, well you can, but you're in sport now.
Right.
So this is it will do it for you. It just holds the gears longer.
Okay.
But it's so this basically just holds the gears longer, and it'll, as if you're in a manual car. Yeah. It will hold it in the gear that it thinks you should be in the whole time. You know.
So it's quite similar to the SMG box on the M3.
Kinda.
Like
you'll see in a minute.
Yeah. Obviously that was actually a manual with a robotic. It just wants to go, doesn't it? these DSG boxes.
I must admit, I've never really sent it off the line. See what I mean? It holds the gear.
Yeah.
It's alright, isn't it?
It's alright. Listen,
but you see now, see it'll hold it.
Right.
It holds it like 3,000-4,000. It won't change, so you'll be in.
Right, now we're down into third.
So if you want to use manual, you can just knock it across. This is permanent manual now.
Right, there we go.
Speed camera here for you. So my only gripe about this is, and it shouldn't really be a gripe because you're in manual, is that it's not always in the gear you want it to be in when it's slowing down. So if you don't change down, let it change down.
Right.
If we don't come to a stop, it might only drop down to third. Then we've got to pull away. It's almost you're in the wrong gear. Like it won't. It's sluggish. It's horrible. But then the argument is obviously you're in manual.
Yeah.
So you should be changing gear, not the car. So
that's right.
It's sort of.
But it is changing down.
Yeah.
So it's doing it automatically.
Yeah. Because obviously it knows that you physically can't drive in third, fourth.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It goes forward. This thing wheel spins, man.
Yeah, go straight on the side. Come on. Give it a little open up. Do you feel it's quite tight, quite precise?
I like the handling on this, and I'm definitely going to get these springs, and I'm going to get the same suspension for
the wishbones and that.
Yeah, until I decide.
Do a U-turn. I mean, have a feel, because this is quite a quick roundabout.
All right, let's give it.
You can have a bit of a feel as to what. It depends. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the manual with the paddles, or?
I prefer the manual with the paddles.
Okay.
Only because I am a driver and I like the feel of the gear change.
I think if you had this, I think you'd drive it in sport more.
I probably would.
You get used to it. You learn where the car wants to be and that kind of stuff.
The only good thing about having that 3.2 manual is because it's got the factory cruise control.
Yeah.
So on the motorways it's nice, but if it didn't, I would see the benefit of having DSG instead. I do like this DSG box. I mean, I did hear so many different rumours. Oh, it tucks really nice there.
It's tight, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's your verdict? What do you think?
What's that?
What's your verdict?
Alright, on the DSG box, I like it. I wouldn't swap it for the manual, because I just like the feel of the manual.
Yeah.
Suspension wise, I absolutely love it. It's really, really comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's responsive.
It's not uncomfortable, is it? That's the main thing.
No, it's not. It's definitely not uncomfortable. I mean, look, driving my Noggy with the suspension that I have on it can get uncomfortable after a few hours. But this, I really like. I mean,
it's precise, isn't it?
It's instant. It's really good. It's nice, comfortable. And you know what? I actually don't mind the DSG box, but again, I wouldn't swap it for a manual.
It's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is one of those.
And back to drive, which is, you know, I get it. If you're doing really long journeys, like driving to Germany, or, you know, even going up north, a couple of 100 miles, I get the benefit of having a DSG box.
Yeah.
You just stick it in drive, get in the car, you've got a nice 3.2 VR6, and you can just sit there and give it little kick downs like that.
Yeah. What do you think of the exhaust?
The exhaust is amazing. I kind of like, it's a bit more raspberry and it's a bit more throaty than the standard exhaust. Obviously, the one we've got on the VR6 on the 3.2 manual is a standard exhaust, deresonated.
Yeah.
But I kind of prefer the depth this has and the sound.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a refined sound, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's not just a box removal. That's the difference.
By the way, I didn't do the deresonated. I would have just gone straight for exhaust.
But it's nice that it come with that, because you can appreciate the sound of having it straight away over.
Yeah, and it's just giving me some time to get to grips with the car, and I made a big list of what needs to be done.
We love a list.
Yeah,
we do love a list.
Mate, the never-ending story of owning a TT. But once you get them dialed in and sorted out, they're actually great cars.
Yeah.
I really like a TT.
It's the pull off when you have to get used to this. Is
Yeah.
like where, do you know what I mean? How hard you hit the accelerator, because you bury it somewhere compared to.
Yeah, like, I did bury it a few times. I'm like, okay, but now I think I've got the hang of it.
Yeah.
Because I've got a current Volkswagen with their new DSG box, and it's really, really good.
We're silky in it. That's
yeah, silky smooth. The changes are unbelievable. And even though mine's a 180 horsepower diesel, I feel like I'm driving 260, 270 horsepower car.
Yeah, they're well designed. Yeah.
Very well designed. But when it comes to this with the DSG box, I'm quite impressed.
You can tell it's an early one, can't you?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
It's definitely got that. They've definitely refined it since.
I mean, I know the rumour has it that the DSG box is one of the reasons why Audi put them in the 3.2s. It was the experiment for their later up and coming DSG boxes, and also for the Porsche PDK box.
Yeah.
It was an experiment mainly aimed for the Porsches. Apparently,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I read it on some forums and some of the rumour mills, and that's that's what they've said. But could be just all rumours.
Yeah.
That's really nice, Dom. Actually,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's
the handling is. I wanted it to be like this without being too much.
Yeah, I think this is the route I'm gonna go suspension-wise, and until I decide to get air ride.
Have you had air ride before?
I haven't. No. No.
That's why.
That's probably why I want to get air ride, because I just.
You got to tick it off your box, huh?
Yeah, tick it off my box.
I was a bit like that with the baseball. You know what I mean? Like I have there's a list of things I'd like to own in my life. Just tick.
Mate, I don't know. Really, I kind of like the DSG.
It's just nice for wafting, isn't it?
Yeah, I might have to get a DSG as well. Mate, once you pop, you can't stop, innit?
That's mate. That is the issue.